Now let's talk about a good dude, man, Dan Batard, who says ESPN's muzzling was too much of a sacrifice. Never too much, never too much, never too much. Dang, 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 dang. Y'all don't know that? Luther. And he also said, I don't even think I talk politics. Whoa, okay, let's talk through it. So in the wake of ESPN laying off a cast of talented men and women, 20 plus, we all caught it, Batard attempted to offer confidence and some love to those in the consolation and freedom from the establishment. What? Power to the people, he said. Fight the power. Basically, hey, y'all got detached away from something that may be a blessing. So on his latest episode, South Beach Sessions podcast, we catch it. Batard spoke about leaving ESPN to launch Meadowlark Media and why it was a risk he needed to take. So he said, I reached a point at the 4 letters where I couldn't keep eating silence when I'm freedom first, voice first, and I've got to be able to speak freely. Batard said that. So the muzzling was a different kind of unfulfilling. Wow, it was too much of a sacrifice of principles that I couldn't abide. Ooh, got to stop right there. My experience there at ESPN was never from up top or the powers that be to say this and don't say that. The only time you ever hear like, dog, chill, is when you went hard at the NFL, when you went hard at the commissioner, right? That was the only time I ever seen somebody, hey, chill. Like that money coming in from the NFL, those 3 letters, the 4 letters needed. So chill out. I remember hearing that. I heard it at the NFL Network and I heard it one time at ESPN. But it still wasn't with a heavy hand, wasn't with heavy discipline, just like, be careful if you're going at the NFL and make sure it makes sense. And I remember back to the point where Michelle Beadle had her big rant against the NFL. And let's just say, coincidentally, things changed for Michelle Beadle after that, kind of proving my point. All right, so I've never been through this experience, but let's talk through Dan's experience. He says, I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I was living in a space where I had to sell out. That obviously, like sell out in a way that I couldn't come up with a rationalization when I was looking in the mirror for what my family's about. And so I had to do it. Oh, now I'm starting to understand where he's coming from. And then when the discomfort arrived, what it felt like was just unsafe, because it's not regret, but it's just like, oh my God, I could have been cashing checks, talking into a microphone for millions of dollars if I had just kept my head down, but not been able to live with myself. Wow. Do you understand that moment right there? The fact that he had that debate and that dilemma, really 2 bad options, right? One, stay here, not be yourself, squeeze into this role and position you feel that they are trying to suit you in, right? And get that check. We call that, or at least I do, the velvet coffin. The velvet coffin feels good inside. Hey, man, it's velvet. This is amazing. Oh, man, I got enough room to lay down. Oh, let me take a little nap. And then they just start lowering you down 6 feet deep, right? And slow death, but a comfortable slow death. That's what Dan talks about, 1 lane. But I could have kept cashing those checks. And Dan's checks were even bigger than mine. So those some big ass checks. And he like, can't I just lay here comfortably and take a little dirt nap for a minute? No? Ah, damn it. So what's the option? Go out there and do your own thing. Now go out there and do your own thing. What did I tell you? You start at 0. I don't give a damn who you are. And you're going to build it up. And yeah, it's going to be more power to you, but there's also going to be more busyness handling your business because you are now doing it yourself. So Dan went through that problem and that debate, and obviously he chose to bet on himself. So Batard, he scoffed at the notion that ESPN might now regret muzzling their talent. He says, I found that it's safer and more financially rewarding generally to stick to sports. Hey, facts. To be real about that. You won't lose sponsors. I'm not saying that's what anybody should do. I don't even think I talk politics. What I've been talking about for many, many years has been race, and it gets hijacked. It gets turned into politics. But all I think I've ever advocated for, which is now somehow a controversial position, is how about equality and decency for all? All right. So on his show, he says they discuss social issues, not politics. All right, here we go. Let's talk about this, because Dan Batard got to a point where he was getting that check, but that check was taking a chunk of flesh with it. And you can be in that position. You at your job, you may have an overbearing boss at your job. And you like, dog, I gotta pay these bills, right? Because you can love a lot of things in this world, but one thing that loves to get something from you is your bills, right? You ain't even gotta love your bills back. They like, so what? I need you, so you better pay me. And that's what you gotta take care of. Loving your family really just comes into the form and disguise of, I gotta take care of this family by paying these bills, putting a roof over their head, etc. Isn't that crazy? Like, you love your family, but you don't love your job, but you gotta do your job so you can show love to your family. Wow, that's where we get. So the check takes a chunk of flesh from a lot of people, not just a Dan Le Batard. Here's the thing that I love about what he was saying, right? And it really hit home for me because it's like about your voice. Your voice is your signature, just like your fingerprint. It's unique to you. You got to find it first, because a lot of people out there don't express their uniqueness. They don't talk through their voice. They talk in mannequin form. They talk in the politically correct form. They talk in cocktail party form just to keep the party going. But Dan Le Batard always had his signature voice and always wanted to stick with his signature voice. And that made him have to leave because they weren't trying to listen to his voice. Matter of fact, tried to muzzle it. And another thing that's interesting about it is your time. Like, you start to realize you only have so much time. So are you going to dedicate it to them, or are you going to dedicate it to yourself first in priority? When we're mutually aligned, oh, this works. This is all good. But as soon as you feel that diversion, as soon as you feel that fork in the road and you went two different directions, your time becomes essential, because that's the only thing that's going to really give you the opportunity to do what you want to do. So I had to go through that, ran a model in my home about how much time am I going to lose if I continue to chase these checks from them, which would include travel, which will include engagements, which would include a lot of things that I didn't want to sign up for, but I did sign up to take care of my family. You get this whole bizarro world? Well, Dan Le Batard broke that down incredibly, and I still watch his show, and he's still out there killing it. So what do you guys think about all this situation, huh? You agree with Dan that there's a consolation in freedom from the establishment? And the fact that, do you think that ESPN muzzles his talent? And if you do, give me some examples. I want to know.